We're both on video. I can see.
We can see. We can see you, madam.
We can see you, Yashodhara, but we can't see Manu. I don't know.
Oh, I can see Manu.
But I can see you, ma'am.
Oh, okay, but okay, all right, okay. I don't know whether the audience, whether others are able to see Manu or not. I couldn't see him. Yeah. Chef, shall I start?
Start with you, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome the students of 10th course Baka, their parents, our honored alumni mentors, Ms. Yashodhara Marar, Mr. Manu Wahi, Mr. Atul Jain and Ms. Divya Prabhakar, Principal Chef Thiru, Vice Principal Mr. Rashekar and all my colleagues. This unexpected and unprecedented migration from conventional face-to-face education to online education forced us to initiate this mode of meeting for the time being. Team Waksha, with a huge support from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, efficiently managed to embrace the changes and started using online education advantageously. Though it's a daunting challenge to the academic fraternity to shift to this mode of teaching, we at Waksha are trying our best to provide the best quality of digital learning possible. Parents, I hope and I'm sure your wards are able to cope with the new study environment in the midst of umpteen disruptions. One of the important milestones in the history of Waksha was the introduction of mentorship program for freshers in 2019. It was greatly appreciated by all stakeholders unanimously. The credit goes to our principal, Chef Thiru, who has left no stone unturned in his efforts to translate the mission of Waksha into a concrete reality. We are ever grateful to our illustrious alumni who, without an ounce of hesitation, accept our request to involve in the endeavors of the Institute. I think the foremost success and visibility of Waksha is because of our alumni spread around the globe in powerful positions. This global network of alumni contributes in keeping alive the legacy of Waksha. Continuing with this, the second edition of mentorship program for the 10th course Baka is initiated, and today and tomorrow we have 4 of our proud alumni from 3rd, 5th and 7th course BHM are with us to address the students, parents and faculty members. Post this program, the students will be divided into 4 groups and are allotted to the mentors individually for continued association with them. The details of groups and names of mentors will be shared with everyone soon. I once again welcome the stars of today, Ms. Yashodhara Marar and Mr. Manu Wahi in particular, along with students and parents. I request everyone to keep the camera off and microphone in mute. You're most welcome to ask questions during the question and answer session. You have the option to type your question in the chat box or turn on the camera and raise your hand to ask the question. I now invite Chef Thiru to deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. Dear distinguished guests, students and parents, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all for this Alumni Mentorship Program 2020. We at Waksha always take pride in whatever we do. Among the 20 constituent colleges of Manipal Academy of Higher Education, we were the first college to introduce this concept in the 2019. And students, each and every one of you have various challenges, dreams, and aspirations. And today you live in the world of competition, competitions and technology advancements. And besides teaching you the regular curriculum, we want to connect you all with the various experts in order to gain knowledge and skill sets. There is a massive gap between theory and practice, words and actions. So mentoring is the game changer elements that could radically enhance human capital. The success of this institute depends majorly on the students and alumni. We are happy that all our alumni are extremely doing well in their professional and personal careers. You have an exclusive, robust network of alumni who are eager to share their wisdom and advice about life beyond workshop. I would like to urge each and every one of you to capitalize this opportunity to reach your goal. This evening, we have with us Ms. Yashodhara Marar, third course BHM, and she is a gold medalist from third course. And Mr. Manu Ahi, entrepreneur from Jammu, he's from fifth course BHM. They will be sharing their journey, and they are going to be with you. It's not meant for only 3 years, lifelong. They are going to do mentorship. It's up to you how you interact and get benefit out of it. And thank you on behalf of Team Workshop and ITC and Manipal Academy of Leadership team. I take this opportunity to welcome Ms. Yashodhara Marar and Mr. Manu Ahi for this alumni mentorship program. Over to you, Dr. Vidya.
Thank you, Chef. The formal program begins with the session from Ms. Yashodhara Marar. Yashodhara is part of Vaksha family for 33 years now, and it's indeed a special privilege to have her on board once again to inspire our prospective hoteliers. She was one of the smartest students of third course, and as Chef Thiru said, she was the best outgoing student of her course. I request Chef Rajmohan to introduce Ms. Yashodhara. Over to you, Chef.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. Good evening, everyone. It's a great honor for me to introduce and welcome our guest speaker of this evening, our alumna of third course BHM, Ms. Yashodhara Marar. Ms. Yashodhara Marar is a veteran of the hospitality business in India. After topping her class as the gold medalist of the prestigious Manipal University's Hotel School, or Workshop, run by ITC Hotels, she started her career with ITC Hotels as a management trainee, specializing as a chef. She was among the first few ladies in India who broke new ground as a professional chef. During her management training program, she specialized in the Indian cuisine at the legendary Bukhara restaurant at ITC Maurya under the expert guidance and coaching of Master Chef Madanlal Jaiswal. Her first posting was to the ITC Park Hotel, Chennai, where she specialized in Chinese cuisine. In close association with Chef Shi Zi Lin from Beijing, during her stint at the ITC Hotel in Chennai, she managed the kitchens at highly successful restaurants, namely Residency, Towers Club, Sagari, etc. Her passion for nurturing future talent for the business led her to move to the learning and talent development function. She went on to head the learning and development function of the ITC hotels for the southern region. During this period, she also specialized as a pre-opening specialist for hotels. She was part of several new hotel and restaurant launches, such as ITC Sonar, Grand Bay, Sullivan Court, the restaurant Dumpok, Jolly Nabos at ITC Windsor. After a brief stint with Convergys as head of training, she took a break from an active career in order to raise a family. Ms. Yashodhara has a reputation for being a perfectionist and has a very keen eye for detail. She is extremely creative and as an artistic. Her sense of aesthetics and creativity have served her well and in all her roles. She is currently a member of advisory board of the Bangalore School of Music. Ms. Yashodhara continues to have an active interest in cuisine. She is also passionate about art and craft, heritage, Indian mythology, study of religion, music, and novels and movies. Today, we are privileged to have an opportunity to listen to Ms. Yashodhara Marar this evening. On behalf of all gathered here, I welcome you, ma'am, to this fantastic evening of Culinary Arts Mentorship Program. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chef Thiru. Vidya, thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. I don't think I'm deserving of it, but let's take it from here. I'm trying to keep this as conversational as possible, And do let me know if I'm not being heard clearly. So hello everybody. It's great to be back in college, even if it is virtually. I have to tell you that even though your principal wasn't my principal when I was in Manipal, I have used Chef Thiru's notes for many years to compile questions as part of the selection of candidates, both for the management training program that ITC used to run, still does run out of Gurgaon and the Maurya Sheraton, as well as the HOT program that I used to run for ITC hotels in the south. So, Chef Thiru, I still have your notes. As many people, I think they were so well compiled. I wish we had them in our day. As many people must have already told you, college is about discovery and the journey ahead. When I entered these hallowed portals, I wasn't unlike Harry Potter, entering the mysterious halls of Hogwarts. There was a sense of wonder, there was a sense of mystery, and of course, there was a sense of nervous excitement. My parents were filled with trepidation, and I can understand that now, being a parent myself. I have to say that it was the second best decision I've ever made in my life. If you're anything like I was when I started, you're probably sitting there feeling a million different emotions and asking yourself a million different questions. There, of course, was a lot to learn, but even more to discover. And it was one of the few colleges in those days, and I think it still is, to give you, on-the-job exposure right on the campus. No other college offered that in those days, and my decision was made. I said, I'm going to Manipal, whatever happens. And because I learned better by doing, and I thought this was the right place to be. Taking a trip down memory lane, I remember when I thought of becoming a chef for the first time, when it first came to my mind, and I talked to my parents about it, my mother said, I don't know if there are ladies in the hotel kitchens. And my father said, Yash, do you really want to be a cook? And I said to him, Papa, not a cook, a chef. So he said, all right, I'm willing to send you to Manipal, but I want you to research this career before you take a decision, because I want you to be sure that this is what you want to do. So I did my homework for a couple of months during, our summer vacation. I worked in a hotel in the Trident in Chennai. It was a new hotel at that time. And I got the feel of what it would be like, to work in a hotel, because it's unlike any other industry, the hospitality industry. And then I went to Park Sheraton to meet the training manager, because I was told he's the person who actually decides, whether or not you get training in a hotel, and it's a very large part of, what you become in later years. So I went and I met the great Mr. Jayachandran, who later on became my boss and a great supporter of mine. I'm still in touch with him. He's a wonderful human being. And he introduced me to one of his trainees, a lady by the name of Sandhya Raichur, who came from the first course of Waksha, and she really became my mentor in a way. She was my roommate. We decided that we'll be roommates because we felt we were very similar when it came to being goal-oriented and being focused. And Sandhya was really hardworking. She gave me the inside info on what it's going to be like, joining catering college and joining Waksha in particular. And I think that helped. Two things that really rubbed off on me were, hard work and focus. That's what Sandy was all about. And she was my compass, always telling me never to lose sight of my goal. And my goal was very clear. I wanted to become, I got to know about the management training program with ITC, and my goal was very clear. I said I want to, at the end of 3 years, because it was a 3-year course in those days, I wanted to be a management trainee, a kitchen executive trainee with the ITC hotels, and with their management training program, and do my parents proud. So at every opportunity, I have to tell you this, that at every opportunity, I looked to excel. I looked to be creative. and I looked to work tirelessly. I mean, I think it was a common joke amongst some of my faculty. They used to say, if you see the lights on in the kitchen in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's probably Yasho in there baking a batch of muffins, And I remember Mr. Naveen Kumar once coming and telling me, Yasho, did you find, who did you find in the kitchen this morning? So I said, nobody. He said, that's my point exactly. Why are you here so early in the morning? So I used to be there to bake the first batch of muffins and sponge sheets, and we didn't have too much of equipment in those days. So it was all, beating by hand. And so I grew myself a pair of muscles. And there was an eagerness to learn and discover and invent as much as possible. I don't want to sound like a super student or anything. I did have my fun as well, but I did set my sights high and I gave it my all. I love being mess manager. I tried to be creative at it. I remember telling Cheta, who used to be the head chef in those days for the mess, that Cheta, we can't have Rajma every week. We've got to do things differently. We've got to have burgers and pizzas and milkshake and keep the costs low. So this is, these are the various things you look at, when you're growing into a career like this. Throughout my 3 years at Waksha, I was clear that I wanted to start my career as a chef. Through these years, I soon realized that being a chef, and that to a lady in a leadership position, in then what was a completely male-dominated world of hotel kitchens, was going to be challenging and going to be very demanding. I mean, just from the point of view of even being able to lift those handis and walk through the kitchen without looking frail and looking like you've got all the energy knocked out of you because you had to pick up a handi or pick up a bori of rice or whatever, because it's all part of the job and you have to learn this job from scratch. Cooking came very naturally to me, but it would take more than the ability to produce a great meal to survive and thrive in this environment, because it was a tough environment. And some of these things I learned as part of the management training program, and some I learned the hard way. And the hard way is always the better way, because those are lessons you'll never forget. As I thought about what I will speak to you about today, to all you youngsters at the cusp of a new phase in your life, ready to take on the world in your chef coats and caps and knives in hand. I really miss my knives. I thought it would be best to share with you what I consider to be the 5 most important skills that helped me define my career, define success in my career. I think the first one would be creativity. The second one would be working in a team. The third would be communication. The fourth would be balance between attention to detail and multitasking. The 2 ends of the spectrum, but both extremely important for a chef. And to illustrate these, I thought I'd narrate a small story. If there's anything that I would like you to carry back from my talk today, it is to maintain a razor-sharp focus on cultivating and developing these skills. So the skills of creativity, working in a team, communication, balance between attention to detail and multitasking. So to start with, I like to start with creativity. We all know that creativity and experimentation are the bedrock of culinary excellence. Right from the beginning, I tried to be creative at everything I did. I always had, an artistic bent of mind, and so that helped. But remember, the job of a chef, the role of a chef, and the skills can be learned. And once you learn how to be creative, you'll never forget it, and you'll use it everywhere, in every walk of life. I tried to be, as I told you, I took on the role of mess manager whenever I could. It was on rotation. I was happy to take it on, even if somebody else didn't want to. I tried to be creative in the gifts that I gave, how I wrapped them, small little things, what my college hostel room looked like. Everybody used to come to my room to look at what it looked like, because, I'd done it up nicely, on a budget. But I do remember that it is creativity in my final trade test, of the management training program, that helped me get noticed. My trade test was based on what I'd learned at the Dampuk, the Bukhara, and the Indian kitchens. I was very clear that that's where I wanted to specialize. I was told several times by lots of people that, look, you're a woman, it might be easier if you did continental food. But I think it was the thrill of standing in front of the tandoor and putting your hands in there and rolling up your sleeves and doing the job that until then only men had done. As far as my final trade test went, I designed the menu. I had this beautiful black and gold menu done in the form of a scroll, which I personally designed it. I got it printed. The decor on my buffet counter was like black, gold, and copper. I was going for like an Indo-Afghan look. As trainees, we had very limited access to resources, and we had to use our goodwill with banquets and banqueting staff to sort of get stuff out of the prop room that they had used for banqueting, and to get other stuff out of there. But it was all, it was a package. That's what they were looking for. They were like not just looking at the food that you created. They were looking at what could you create given the limited resources that you had. Were you using interpersonal skills to be able to get stuff out of banquets? And what was your final, what was the final package? And the buffet that I had was built around a central display of a mutton dum biryani, which was stuffed into baby lamb. It was an audacious attempt for a final trade test. A lot of research I did into making different types of pickles from unusual ingredients. They were filled with in little bharnis, and that was a different counter altogether. Even my pandan that I made for the after meal sort of mouth freshener, I made with royal icing, and I'd covered it with the chandi ka work that we use on top of mithais. And the pans themselves were made out of mawa, flavored with pan liqueur, filled with dry fruit, and it had a little clove on the top. And looked like a pan. So there was not an aspect that I spared. It wasn't just about the meal. There wasn't an aspect that I spared to experiment with and to stretch the boundaries. From the macro impressions to the micro experiences, everything had to be different. So, go out there and try to think out of the box. As they say, the proof in the pudding had to be in the eating, and everyone loved my display. As youngsters embarking on your respective careers in the world of cuisine, I would urge you to differentiate yourself. Be creative. Do not hesitate to experiment. Do not hesitate to fail. There will be those terrible, terrible failures. Nobody is going to have a problem with that. And in every occasion, find an opportunity to set yourself apart. Remember, chefs don't make mistakes. They invent new dishes. So that's a nice saying to hide behind. Well, the next one that I'm going to talk about is not new either. Even before you've entered the industry, many of you would know that whether it's an organization, a sport, teamwork is the key. So the very fact that I'm calling this out as one of the key skills points to the fact that teamwork has a very special role to play in a kitchen, especially if you're a lady chef leading a brigade of men. Now, I keep going back to this. This is not to discount what men do in the kitchen. I'm looking at it from being the first lady chef in the south of India and amongst the first few in India at all. So given that, I keep relating it back to my experiences in those days. Things have changed considerably. You've got a few of your, your alumni who are going to talk about how they've started businesses and done extremely well. They're so well thought about in the industry. What my next story is going to talk about is a special event that ITC holds every year in Calcutta called Kitchens of India. It is a 3-day, or rather 3-night event wherein ITC showcases its prowess at Indian food, be it Dampuk, Bukhara, the banquet kitchens, any other specialist Indian cuisine that we have in our various hotels. So I had just been posted after management training. It was about 7 days, and I was still on induction at the Park Sheraton when my executive chef, Chef Mathur, called me and said, Yasho, I need you to leave for Calcutta with a Dakshin team. And, I hadn't even gotten to the kitchen at that point in time. I was still on induction, as I said. And, the next thing I knew was tickets were booked and we had to board a train. I had this motley crew of people who I didn't know, some service staff, some Dakshin cooks, and we were spread across 5 compartments. And the journey from Chennai to Calcutta is fairly long. I had to keep an eye on them without knowing them. Some of them I didn't even recognize as being part of my team. I may have just gone up to somebody and said, listen, I don't want you to be drinking on the train. It may not have been somebody who was on my team. So this is what it was all about. We reached, we were a last minute entry. They hadn't thought of Dakshin at that point in time. And then they said, listen, we've never had Dakshin before at the Kitchens of India dinners. So let's call in Dakshin. And that's why we were a last minute entry. And we reached Calcutta and we realized that we didn't have rooms. So I insisted with the person coordinating that first my staff gets looked after, then I checked into my room. And I told all of them that I'm going to be meeting them for lunch. Quite honestly, some of them turned up, some of them didn't. Some of them were nursing hangovers. Some of them didn't even want to listen to what I had to say. They were downright disinterested. So that being the case, I knew this is not going to cut ice with anybody. We're not going to make the impression that we have to make. And I needed to shake things up. So what I did was, as a bunch of South Indian chefs from Dakshin, if there was one purpose I knew that they would all rally around, it was pride. So I called them together. I said, listen, I don't know what you all are thinking about this, but, we have kitchens like Bukhara and Dampukht who are, who really are the pride of ITC. And we really need to go out there and do our thing because it's Dakshin's pride at stake. And we are so proud of this brand down south. If we don't do what we should be doing here, we're going to go back with our heads hanging in shame. And I had to say all this in very bad Tamil because I don't speak fluent Tamil. So anyway, we had I think them all fired up and I think bound together by singularity of vision and commonality of purpose. And this brought about incredible team dynamics. We had major challenges. We faced, we had to make arrangements for, in a new city. We had large language barriers because the locals spoke largely Bengali. They also spoke Hindi, but my team didn't speak Hindi. And we were a last minute inclusion. So everybody was looking at us. They were saying, oh, why should you get this? We've ordered for this. So making arrangements for even raw materials last minute and so on. And Dakshin has a very, like all other cuisines, has a very particular look to it. There's a lot of South Indian flowers. There's a lot of, there's the banana leaf. So I had to look for all of this in Calcutta. But I have to say that my team sort of pulled us through. The great rapport that I had with the Dampukht and Bukhara guys also helped. Dakshin was asked to cook on day 3, which is the chairman's personal dinner. Not everybody gets invited to cook for that. And we went back to Chennai as heroes. And I gained the respect and admiration from a band of guys who had helped, who really didn't want to take orders from me. So tables turned completely. And it really helped me through my remaining stint in the kitchen in Chennai. They needed to collectively win, and I think the acceptance of ideas is really what did it. So they would come up with something, I would come up with something, and it was a give and take. So so teamwork, very important, work at it. The next story I have for you is about communication. I used to be the chef of one of the most successful multi-cuisine restaurants. It's a term that one seldom hears in a 5-star hotel today, in this day and age. This was at the Park Sheraton, and it was called the Residency and offered what was known as the Rolls-Royce of buffets. Residency was the largest grosser across all restaurants in the South, across all chains. So it was really, a brand to contend with. And it had a humongous number of dishes on the menu. On the buffet, I can't even remember how many. And I was told that the chef was bringing in a master chef from Beijing Sheraton to enhance our Chinese cuisine. So he was coming to us at quite a cost, and therefore the hotel had decided that he needed an understudy. And that's why in my resume it shows that, you know, I worked in the Chinese kitchen, but actually I looked after both Indian and Chinese. The idea in having an understudy was to orient the Chinese chef to what Chinese food would be appreciated in India. Because many Chinese chefs come in with absolutely no clue. I mean, at least in those days, there was no information. They couldn't understand why we didn't eat creepy crawlies. They couldn't understand why, frog meat and snake meat was not necessarily on a Chinese menu and things like that. And the idea was to help him design a new menu for residency, as well as do a couple of food festivals during his 2-year stint with us. So in comes Chef Shizi Lin. He couldn't speak a word of English. He was quite surprised that the Sheraton Hotel in Chennai was constructed in brick and mortar. He thought, you know, like many people in those days did, that India was full of, jungles and snakes and elephants. And many months later, when he learned a smattering of English, he said to me, Yasho, I to think India have a no building. All the people wear grass skirt. So I was quite taken aback, and I said, you know, that goes to show how much we know about China and how little you all know about us. But anyway, Chef loved India so much that he never went back. He now works for the Taj. But to get back to communication, I had the task of eliciting from him each recipe, and nothing could be done without a standard recipe card. So I blocked a boardroom. I had my chef de partie bring up a chopping board and all the flatware that we used in residency for Chinese food and all the condiments that we used. And we had every vegetable, whether it was carrots, cucumber, baby corn, spring onions, cabbage, chicken, lamb, fish, everything, all the ingredients cut differently in the manner that it would normally be used for Chinese cuisine. So you had juliennes, you had brunoise, you had, fine slices, all of it. And then chef would point to each item and each cut, and then we would assemble it on a platter and then weigh each ingredient, put down the standard recipe card. Then we set up a lab kitchen, and then we would cook each dish and then take down tasters' remarks and communicate by sign language to Chef Shizi Lin. I still have a copy of my standard recipe cards. Over a period of time, I taught Chef some English, and he became very adventurous. He went on to sing Spanish songs with a Chinese accent in our coffee shop. It was hilarious. But you know, life is fun if you find ways to communicate. While this was an extreme example of how communication played a role in solving a difficult situation, there's no doubt about the fact that communication is key to success in the kitchen. From setting expectations, to providing directions, to giving feedback, to motivating, to discipline, it's all good if you have good communication. Without it, you are likely to struggle. The last one, I've clubbed two together, is balancing multitasking and attention to detail. I had spent 6 years in the kitchen, and during this period, I started to play a role in supporting the management of the hotel through various other initiatives. So over a period of time, I realized that my greatest source of joy came from interacting with people, grooming new talent, and guiding and mentoring youngsters. So I chose to take on the role of training manager of ITC Park Sheraton, and soon after that, I took over from my mentor, Mr. Jayachandran, as the regional head for training for ITC South. In this role, apart from training sessions, I also got involved in auditing hotels in the region. Very interesting. I was part of the pre-opening team for several hotels, a job that I miss even today. The excitement of training and putting the pieces of a puzzle together to form a product par excellence, I don't think anything can replace that feeling. During the pre-opening of Shonar Bangla in Calcutta, all eyes were on us. ITC finally managed to have a hotel in its home city. I worked closely with Ms. Aluwalia, Mrs. George, a number of senior resources from housekeeping, front office, food and beverage, to train restaurant staff, to produce modules, to train front office staff and housekeeping staff as well. I had to don several hats, think of new training methodologies, create service designs for restaurants and front office, and look into aesthetics, and be on the other side of the table for the first time for food trials. From here, I also went on to play significant roles in very specific projects, such as opening of the Jolly Nabob at ITC Windsor, coordinating the visit of Prime Minister Tony Blair. And I am a great believer in the phrase, the devil is in the details. I was thrilled when Mrs. Blair asked me how we had thought of all the little things that we had placed for her personal use in the presidential suite. It meant that she had noticed. So my ability to juggle so many balls and simultaneously maintain a razor sharp focus on the tiniest details had its foundation in my kitchen days. The chef is a juggler, maintaining a delicate balance. He's keeping an eye on quality, timely delivery of orders, meeting and interacting with customers, reducing wastage, ensuring food safety and hygiene. It's always a go, go, go atmosphere in the kitchen. It's a hot place to be in. And keeping cool during this time while managing multiple tasks and yet delivering a work of art is a trait that one is likely to find amongst the greatest of chefs in the world. Chefs, I truly believe, are artists, but they're also jugglers. All of you youngsters that I have the pleasure of addressing today have a unique challenge. We are in the midst of what is arguably the greatest humanitarian crisis that we have ever encountered. Needless to mention, this has not just disrupted our lives, but has impacted everything around us in fundamental ways. Travel, tourism, hospitality will probably never be the same again. Hygiene, cleanliness, and sanitation have become the new buzzwords and are being touted as differentiators and core values. Health has taken center stage, and health is the new wealth. Home kitchens are the new age restaurants, and takeaways are the most popular format today. Even five-star hotels have launched delivery apps. Can you imagine that? That would have been unheard of. It would have been too elitist for a five-star hotel to have a home delivery app. Tables have turned, and Swiggy is teaching us the new way. It's into this world that you youngsters will enter. I'm given to understand that your education is already quickly adapted to this standard and is now being done from your respective homes. So those of you who wanted to leave home and live in a hostel, I feel sorry for you because I loved hostel life. I wanted to leave you with a message of hope and of positivity. I don't believe this will last for too long. Having been exposed to the frailties of life, people will emerge from this crisis with a zest for life, a desire to accumulate more memorable experiences before time runs out, and a propensity to pay for differentiated offerings. Everybody wants something out of the ordinary. In this world lies an ocean of opportunity that you youngsters could tap into. My heartfelt best wishes to each of you, and I want you to remember one thing: no one is born a great chef, one learns by doing, said the greatest chef of all, Julia Child. Stay focused on your craft and your core skills that I just spoke to you about, and I tell you, nothing can stop you from reaching the pinnacles of success. Good luck and Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishu. It was hats off to you. What an amazing, presentation. Great memory and great clarity of thought. Thank you for reminding students about goals, hard work, focus by sharing, your rich examples and experiences. Now I request students or parents to ask questions, if any, before we proceed to the next presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions, anyone?
It was good insight about the culinary experience Mrs. Yashodhara had it. It was a great experience, and it was actually an insightful story which she shared. It was really good, and it is good for my kid also, who is craving to become a great chef.
Thank you. I love telling stories.
Any more questions?
Any questions? Do the girls have any questions? or roughing it out?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, can you just tell like certain experiences which are just unique to females in the hospitality industry? Because once a female chef told me that being a chef comes with its own problems, being a female chef comes with another set of problems along with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I said that. When I was talking, I did say that I keep referring back to the fact that it is a male-dominated area. And in our days, as I said, I was the first in the South. People really didn't know how to even, why is a woman, what is she doing here? We're all men here. We can't use bad language in front of her. In fact, Chef Mathur, who was my executive chef, called the rest of the chef team in, and he said, "You'll all know Yasho because she's done her industrial training here, and I want you to realize that there is a woman in the kitchen today." And I thought that was very nice of him, but you won't get that everywhere. So either you have to pretend that you're not listening to what they're saying, or you sort of ignore it, but it does come with its own problems. For example, most chefs do a break shift, which means you leave your home in the morning, you cover lunch, you take a break, and you're back again there for dinner, and you finish late at night. So the issue of going home late, whether your parents will accept that, whether your partner will accept that, is one thing. How do you juggle a family life with that? The fact that as I said, they're largely men around. They don't know how to behave when there's a woman around because it's a very new experience for many of them. In those days, most of our cooks, our commis, were all uneducated guys. So they came from the back alleys of Lucknow. Manu would bear me out on this, but I think 90% of the guys that we had in Dampuk and Bukhara in those days came from some small back alley somewhere. They were great at their craft. Nobody could match up to their skills, but they didn't know how to deal with women. They didn't want women there because they felt that was their area. So, the fact that I would never ever say that a woman is weaker than a man in any way, but you have to pull stores. You have to bring, at the Moria, the stores are on the ground floor. Banquet kitchen is on the first floor. Dampuk kitchen is on the in the basement, and I think Bukhara is also on the first floor. So, you're going to have to be able to grit your, sort of pull yourself together. Say I can do this. Pull stores. They'll give you this huge trolley. They'll tell you, this is the stores for. You cannot imagine the volume of stores for a banquet kitchen. It runs into kilos and kilos of wheat and rice, and so you have to be able to. The guy in the store is not going to pick up the bori and say, "Should I put it on the trolley for you?" You're going to have to do this yourself. So that, and it's those things that people are watching. Everybody's judging you by whether you can do this or not. Is she here for the long haul or not? So, as I said, the kitchen is a hot area to work in. It's hot, it's noisy. You have to keep your calm, you have to keep your cool. You know that there are a number of people who don't want you there. So you have to, at every stage, at every point, you have to not only excel, you have to think differently, you have to work harder. Honestly, I tell you this, and I say this in front of the boys, you have to work harder than your male counterparts, because they can go out, with the kitchen guys for a smoke, and they'll become pals with them. You can't do that. In fact, they don't want you to do that. So they want you to be a woman. So you have to, overcome all of this in your own way. And the only thing that does it is hard work. It's hard work. Did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I raised my hand, so I thought my voice is audible to you.
Yes, audible, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. It is. Yes.
My niece, she's basically going to start a career with Manipal. So I had two questions. I will not take because I think many of the parents would be having the same questions. Because I'm actually posted at Patna. Patna is a different place, Bihar, and I
Yes.
have to plan out in advance in order to basically, make an arrangement for living here in the hostel and do the other needful thing. So are
Right.
we going to about the classes which is going to be started,
Yeah.
the regular classes in
Yeah.
advance because then I have to make all the arrangements in advance. I'm posted at Patna. So, so how exactly am I basically, should I continue? I mean, asking the management with regard to the future, this thing program or virtual, these classes will last how long? And
Uh,
Sir, sorry,
that's
is
not an answer
asking.
that I could give, but I think even the principal would not really be able to tell you unless the government tells us when we can open colleges. But I leave it to you, Chef.
Yes, thank you, madam. Sir, nothing to worry. As on date, what the best options available with us. I've been, informed all the parents and students during, culinary immersion program. So please, we have to wait because we have to follow the regulatory guidelines because it's not that we don't want to call students because at this point of time, everybody feels that safety is paramount important because so that's the reason which we have to follow the guidelines, and we'll see, sir. And I'm sure that all of them are attending classes. We are making them the whatever the best way to engage in theory classes. So this semester we are going to engage only theory classes. I think you know that. So hopefully maximum we are thinking that I don't know, I can't keep the deadline, but looking at development and vaccines and what the trial is going on, so we'll see that probably maybe January 2021 onwards they will be in the campus. That is, that's what I can just predict now. So it is not only Manipal University, it's a problem with the across all the educational institutes in India as well as in abroad. So I think maybe we can talk over the phone, and now the expertise are there. So I don't want to take their time. Please feel free to contact me in case further any clarification required. I hope I answered your questions.
thank you so much, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
My name is Anurag S. I just wanted to ask ma'am a question. I loved your experiences and I was very inspired by your work and your past experiences in your career. I just wanted to ask you
Thank
a
you.
question.
Yes.
What do you like? Did you? I'm going to ask you about your experience because uh, what did you prefer doing? Like choosing one particular cuisine and focusing on one particular cuisine and uh, trying to master it, or try varied different types of cuisine and having an overall knowledge about all other cuisines.
Um, that's a very good question. I think it's a difficult question because I think, Anurag, it's once you actually do you actually do have your practicals, and you would figure out for yourself what you enjoy doing. So I have to say that as long as I was a chef, I loved, and through my management training program, I was very clear it had to be Indian food, because I think that there's it in those days I thought Indian food was so undiscovered, so underrated. Today, of course, you have Indian restaurants all over the place. There's fusion cuisine and all of that, but it wasn't really. It was at a very nascent stage in those days, and I think by taking on Indian, I was also trying to tell people at the Maurya, in the Maurya kitchens, that look, a woman can do this. If my arms are burnt because I've been working on the tandoor, it doesn't matter. I will cut the gold bangles off my hand, which I actually had to do because they were burning my arms every time I put them into the tandoor. And I said, I'm still going to do this. because I enjoyed it. There was a magic to it, and you know, working with Chef Jaiswal, Madan Lal Jaiswal, and you know, Chef Qureshi at the Dampuk, it's inspiring. It's inspirational stuff. You know, there are people who can just, you know, break down cuisine so beautifully that for me it was all of that magic, and that's why I wanted to be you know, wanted to specialize in Indian. Today I enjoy cooking continental food. I love continental food. I enjoy cooking it. I think it's, honestly, sometimes I think it's healthier in a way. You know, if you look at it, and I love salads and things like that. I also enjoy doing bakery work. So I think when it comes to specializing, go with your gut. You know, when you're hands-on, when you're doing the job, when you're on training, try and experience everything. Experience the butchery, experience the garde manger, experience Indian, Chinese, wherever, and you will figure out what brings you most joy. That's what you should go for.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I'm Sutrita. Ma'am, your stories were really inspiring. I really learned a lot from it. Ma'am, I just wanted to know what was one of the biggest challenges that you had faced, and what was required to overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge was being posted to the Park Sheraton as the first lady chef, not just at that hotel, but across hotel chains in the South. I had a whole team revolting, saying they didn't want to work with a woman. My entire Indian kitchen cleared out. They said they wouldn't work. In fact, my chef de partie was somebody I had trained under as an industrial trainee after my first semester at Waksha. He used to be at Manjarun, and he was in the Indian kitchen in Manjarun, and I had been an industrial trainee there. You see, so he refused to acknowledge that, you know, I had come back as a sous chef, as his chef. I had to work, I think, about almost 2 months with just 2 staff to run the Indian kitchen, to run residency, and to run the Indian kitchen, which meant all a la carte orders, all orders from the room service, to run the tandoor. It was really difficult. It was really a great challenge, because, you know, the whole thing hits you in the face, and you say, so many years of work, so many years of practice for this, you know, so many years of it really you know, it took a lot to sort of grind my teeth, sort of grit my teeth, and say, I'm going to still go on. And when they realized that I'm not giving up, they actually went to Chef Mathur, my executive chef, and they took the matter to the union, and they said, we won't have her here. So Chef Mathur said, give me one reason why. So when because she's a woman, and they said, yeah, we've never worked with a woman. We don't want to take orders. And, you know, you have to understand that this was Chennai that many years ago, you know, 1994. So it was a very different scene. And finally, you know, over a period of time, the staff started coming back, because they realized I'm not going anywhere. I can still run that kitchen without them. And they came back. And they came back, and it, you know, over a period of time, of course, the maitre d' refused to come back. He went ahead and even put tack nails into my biryani one day that went onto the buffet. But luckily, we managed to get it off the buffet just before guests arrived. But what really, I think what really happened was they realized I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to give up. So either if you want to work with me, you work with me. Otherwise, go ahead and get yourself a job elsewhere. And I think in that one thing, my executive chef really stood by me, and I'm ever grateful to Chef Mathur for that. What ended up happening is they came back one by one, and when I finally decided to move out of the kitchen, the same guys wept. The same guys, I remember the oldest in the tandoor, Gurbaksh Singh, touched my feet, and he said, "Aap nahi hote to main kya karta?" So, and I know Gurbaksh didn't want me there. But, you know, over that period of time, I had completely changed the dynamics. I used to take them for movies. I was the only chef who used to take her team for movies. So I used to give them money and tell them, "Kaun sa Hindi movie dekhna hai? Chalo chale." So give them some money. They'll go and book. I'll send 2 fellows ahead of time. They'll go and book the ticket. It'll be a movie I don't want to watch, but I would go with them. I used to make sure that I go with them on the staff picnics. And they all learned how to behave with a woman during that period of time. There was no bad language in my kitchen. They took orders from me. They came up with their ideas. I was happy to use those ideas. I took on the banquet kitchen upstairs where there was a chef de partie who had been in the system for donkey's years. When he retired, he used to write Hindi letters to me from Hyderabad. And he even asked me to sell his scooter for him. So I knew that Chacha loved me. He didn't want me there in the beginning, but by the end of it all, they were all under control. So I think that was, as somebody who was new in the system, that was probably my most challenging.
Thank you, ma'am. There's really a lot to learn from you.
I think, Yashodhara, may I intervene now?
Yeah, I think we're running
time.
late. Yes. I'm sorry, Manu, I put it into your session.
Yeah, I have a question.
I think students, you may type your questions and I will share it with Yashodhara and get the answers to you later. Or maybe at the end, if there is time, I think I will again allow you to ask. So yeah, please bear with us, because even faculty are complimenting you, Yashu, because one of my housekeeping colleague, she messaged, she's an alumna, she messaged, she's wanting to become a chef again after hearing you, I believe. I'm sure there are a lot more questions. I think we will allow them to ask later.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Moving on, we have Mr. Manu Wahi, who is one gentleman who used to be, always calm, composed, and very dignified while at Waksha, taking the hospitality tradition forward. Today, he is a successful restaurator. We are very happy to have him back on board again, and I request Chef Manish to introduce Mr. Wahi. Over to you, Manish.
Thank you, madam. Good evening, one and all present here. I'm very happy to introduce Mr. Manu Wahi, a pride alumni of 5th course BHM. Mr. Manu Wahi is a passionate hospitality business veteran with more than 25 years of professional experience. After graduating from Waksha, he joined ITC Welcome Group as a management trainee. After a short stint, he decided to become an entrepreneur and moved to a run restaurant business. His proclivity to hospitality industry and of course an indelible influence of very institutional Waksha helped him to establish his own different brands of restaurant. At present, he is running a quick service restaurant, a fine dine Indian and Oriental restaurant, and a restaurant bar in Jammu. Manu has a reputation for being a perfectionist and has very keen eye for detail as well as an acumen to run restaurant business. On behalf of Waksha, I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Manu Wahi to Culinary Arts Mentorship Program. Welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Manu Wahi from the batch of 93, and I'm elated to welcome all the budding stars of this hospitality industry. I would also like to thank Chef Thiru and Ms. Vidya of Waksha for inviting me to this esteemed event. And I'm truly grateful to my alma mater for making me who I am. And thanks, Yasho, for taking us down the memory lane. It was really exciting. Just gets you back into the motion again. Okay. So, like, you're all about to embark your journey from this institution, popularly known as Waksha, which will nurture you for this fascinating industry. It is a great opportunity for all of you to imbibe knowledge from this institute's highly proficient faculty team, make use of the resources the institute has to offer, and of course, gain first-hand experience from the attached Hotel Valley View, which will actually help you in understanding the dynamics of this industry. As we are always taught from the beginning that knowledge is never wasted, I would like to share an interesting incident from my college time. While I was in Vaksha, we had to study some subjects about whose relevance was always questionable. And one subject was French language. And for many, it became the Achilles heel, especially during the exams. One was never even sure where, besides in France, one would use this language. Then once we had to go to Pondicherry for a project from our college. And I remember on our very first night, we lost our way back to our lodge. After an hour of wandering in the small bylanes of Pondicherry, we saw the only person on the street in an unkempt attire and who seemed to be a simple native. And when we tried to ask him to guide us to our lodge, he could not understand even simple English. Then in the midst of this incommunicado, he asked, Parlez-vous français? Which means, do you speak in French? And we were all taken aback by this. Then, with the help of a few words of our broken French language, which we all jointly put together into sentences, helped us to get back to our hotel. We later learned that French is also a local dialect in Pondicherry. So my point is that when you're learning in this institute, try to be like a sponge and absorb as much knowledge and experience as possible, because knowledge is never wasted. I got selected to ITC Wellman Group, and I embarked on this journey from the ITC Group flagship property, Maurice Sheraton in Delhi. But then I had this urge to do something on my own, to be an entrepreneur. That's when I later decided to quit ITC and open my own restaurants. So as of now, I run a quick service restaurant, a fine dine, and a resto bar. All these are my own self-created brands and are different concepts in style and working from each other. But it's a Herculean task to sustain brands over a longer period of time. But if one can provide a consistent experience to one's customers, then such places can eventually become landmarks. And you must be having in your own local towns and cities also. Today, I feel the hotel industry provides a vast spectrum of job opportunities, and it is probably the biggest entertainment industry. In fact, restaurants and bars are an integral part of our community and lives. They provide a way for the people to connect and come together. I believe a lot of good memories in our lives, like celebration of birthdays, weddings, etc., are made in and by those who work in this industry. That's why it has become one of the most vibrant industries in the world, where opportunities are endless. As I believe, I'm addressing especially those who will be specializing in the culinary field and who are going to be my future competitors. Few of the everlasting memories of my life in Vaksha have been in the kitchen of this institute, along with my friends whom I met in Manipur for the very first time. I remember when I joined this institute, I dreamt of severing delicacies which I thought were the perks of this course. But to my surprise, the kitchen became a glorified lab where we ended up tasting unpalatable dishes cooked by me and my friends, but with a broad smile. This is what this industry teaches you, to accept both compliments and criticism with a smile, as it takes both sun and rain for a flower to bloom. Because food is life on this planet, I strongly believe that the chefs rule this industry, as they are the spine of this industry. I remember that during my initial weeks of job in Maurice Sheraton, even though I had not opted for the culinary field at that time, but then as part of a training, we had to get acquainted with all the departments of the hotel. The kitchens were one area where I yearned to come back every day. The aroma of dal bukhara and dal biryani, wow, it's like oxygen of that hotel. And the chefs of these brands are like demigods of this industry. They are as famous as their brands. But brands can be made anywhere and sometimes even accidentally. The famous Galoti kebabs was a recipe created for an ailing Nawab who could not chew. The famous butter chicken recipe was originally created to preserve leftover tandoori chicken. And as most of you must be familiar with the Navratra festival in North India, the popular Navratra Thali was created by me in my restaurant in Katra way back in '96, when I wanted to cater to many who were fasting during Navratras and could not get vrat or fasting food in their restaurants in Katra. So I created a typical Navratras menu for my restaurant, made strictly from only those ingredients that are allowed to be consumed by those observing these fasts. Today, it's the most popular cuisine in most restaurants during the Navratras, especially in North India. So similarly, in my fine dine and resto bar, I have few signature dishes, which is very important. and with which we have distinguished ourselves with the others from the others in this industry here. Interestingly, the town of Udupi is believed to be the pioneer in the concept of fast food restaurants, which essentially means food served fast. So one can't beat the speed in which a dosa or a steaming idli will be served to you in the local restaurants here. So you don't really have to go far to search and to look for opportunities. And like that, so there is no end to creativity and opportunities in this industry. Though one has to remember that every customer's expectation and taste is unique. So I feel it is imperative to know your customers so well that you can anticipate their needs and exceed their expectations. But the challenge with this industry is that a single bad experience for a customer usually makes them forget many good experiences. A typical human nature you will have to deal with. In this business, courteous treatment also makes a customer a walking advertisement. For instance, I have a regular customer always requesting me to serve him Sichuan chicken without spices. And Sichuan chicken is a spicy Chinese dish. Initially, even with our best efforts, we were unable to convince him that it would not be even remotely possible to cook any dish like this. But eventually, we ended up creating a recipe tasting similar to the original recipe only for him. He loves it, and he's one of my most loyal customers today. So the saying, customer is king, is pertinent to this industry. Another predicament of this industry is when a customer refuses to pay for a food dish which he dislikes, even though one knows that the dish is perfectly okay. Most chefs are going to face this problem. And it's even more awkward that he remarks after consuming the entire dish, more like an afterthought, I didn't like the taste of this dish. So one will have to confront such situations, but with great humility. In fact, I just came across an interesting story. A bar opened opposite a place of worship. The shrine prayed daily against the bar business. Days later, the bar was struck by lightning and caught fire. It destroyed it. Bar owner sued the shrine authorities for the cause of its destruction, as it was an action because of their prayers. The shrine, of course, denied all the responsibility. The matter was taken to the court. So the judge commented, it's difficult to decide the case because here we have the bar owner who believes in the power of the prayer and an entire shrine that doesn't believe in it. Like the predicament of this judge, there will be times when you will find yourself at the crossroads of choosing between your customers and your instincts. And in such situations, one has to remember, a great customer service does not mean that the customer is always right. It means that the customer is always honored. This is the golden rule of this industry. Running a restaurant business for me in India has been riveting. One learns a lot when one is outside the protective realm of a typical salary job. In one's own business, one has to be responsible and accountable for everything from staffing to finance. Thus, one has to be multitasking. Now, the world of social media marketing has started to become a very important factor in this business also. As they say, there is no success without good promotion. But there is a mysterious side to social media. After running a quick service restaurant for over 10 years, about a year back, I had to close one particular restaurant due to some municipal and legal issues with the building where I had taken space for it on lease. And even though that the restaurant is closed for over a year now, to date, some customers are posting reviews about the food and about their daily experiences in that restaurant. That too on a very popular social media site. Strange but true. Welcome to the new age of social media marketing, which you will have to face. But I'm of a firm opinion that in food business, eventually your food talks. Nothing beats great food. Besides, this industry is really a fun place and it's a great opportunity to meet people from all over the world. So don't forget to have fun, party and make good memories, something which you will always cherish. Like a sizzling sizzler which can't be kept waiting for long, I wouldn't like to hold you anymore with my speech. So be passionate, be remarkable, be worth connecting with, and let these elements be the foundation of your career. Wishing you all the very best in every step of your journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Manu. It was a bit, I think, nostalgic for some of us. And thank you for promoting Udupi in between. I loved it. Thank you for sharing some of the typical episodes that is common to your industry but very critical to the success of your business. I think now we shall keep the floor open for questions, if any.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm Gagana. I'm first year BA Culinary Arts student. And my question to you is, since you run a very successful restaurant and you're a restaurateur, you face criticism. I mean, you have to face criticism from many of the customers. And since we as budding chefs, it is important for us to learn how to face criticism from customers. So, will you please give us some tips to say to face criticism from our customers if we open a restaurant in future?
Yeah, this is something which you're going to face most of the times in this industry, or with most customer-oriented industries. I would put it like that. I think the way to to cope up with this problem is with a smile. I think it does the job. That's the first thing. Be confident in what you are serving. You should exactly know what kind of a food, what was the problem. You have to have an understanding. You have to have an understanding about everything about your business. That's very important. And you've got to be sensitive about your customers. It's a very difficult situation. I can't put it in a simple way, but then we're just putting it like that. Even in a family of 4 in your house, all 4 people will be having different tastes. So for a chef or for a restaurant to get a common ground is very challenging. But the beauty of this whole thing is that if you are flexible and you're a little easy with this approach, you can always don't be very defensive and not very offensive also. That is it. You just have to understand your customer's problem. Most of the time, it can be just solved by having some kind of a communication. When you try to avoid a customer, that's the time when the problem actually starts building up. So understanding your customers, knowing about your food, having confidence in your chefs, in your recipes, it's all very important to give you that confidence to actually face a customer. And this is how you can solve most of the problems in this business.
And sir, have you had any such instance where you had to, face a criticism from a customer, or some customer told bad about the food and you responded accordingly? Is there any such instance?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it is part of it. When you're doing so many meals a day, you will come across, you will hit upon somebody who will have some issues. But like you said, it's very simple. If you really want that customer to come back, you've got to put yourself in his shoes first. This is the way you understand this business. It's always being on the other side. You can't say I'm a great chef, I'm a great restaurant. It doesn't work like that. It has to be 100% customer oriented. You've got to be in fact, when I walk into my restaurant, by looking at the expressions on my of my customers, I start sensing what is happening right now, what is happening in my place. It is very important to have that kind of a contact, be sensitive about it. So it is like I said, so the only way you can do it is you can again make the same dish for him. You can, most of the time it gets solved like that. So you give a freebie, or you can tell him, you can apologize. Be humble. I think this is it. It is because at the end of the day, I feel that if you're passionate about your business, these things will not really matter to that extent. But like I said, you got to be, you have to have knowledge about your food. So at least you should first know that what you are serving was right. Like I said, most of the times you know your dish is okay, but when you ask a customer, sir, then do you like spicy food, or do you like with a lot of salt? So now I encourage my staff that when they basically take an order, this is the most important part of it. The chefs are always behind the scenes. it's very difficult for a chef to understand what is exactly happening in front. And they have to bear the brunt of it also, believe me. So something goes wrong, it's always the chef ne galti kari. It is like a typical situation what happens. And the chef is not going to take a no for an answer. I'm telling you, you will be stuck in between. So when you're in the restaurant, you're stuck between your customers and your chefs. In fact, it is like an inverted pyramid when you're in this business, because you think you're the guy who's running the show, but you're right at the bottom of it, I'm telling you. So you will have to go to the customer, explain him, ask him. Sometimes it's a very small thing. It's generally what happens is, like I said, he might not like salty food, he doesn't like spicy, but the person who was taking the order did not understand the customer. So I think you must understand your customers. It's very different when you are doing a specified or a specialized menu like South Indian food, or you're just going for burgers, pizzas. This is like fixed menus. It's all kind of assembly kind of a thing. Everything is assembled. It's standardized. But a la carte menu is very different. And Yasho would be able to explain you even this thing, because she's really been into the scenes, behind. But it is very difficult. Every chef's hand is different. The biggest challenge for me is my main chef and my number two. If they're both, if the recipes is not coming, is not finding a common ground, it's very difficult to be able to serve menus, to serve into your customers. So this is the only way, basically. I hope it, kind of clears out your doubts on this.
Yes, sir. It was really
Actually,
nice
sir,
talking to you.
I
Thank
have
you
a,
so much.
I have a question.
Good evening, sir. This
Actually,
is Roshni Bhagat.
good evening, sir.
Good evening. So this is Mihir. I have a doubt.
Yeah, sure, please.
So as you said, from you yourself working to from an employee to an employer, you had a transition. How
Right.
has the transition been? What were the difficulties faced by you? And as you got as you became an employer, was it difficult, assuming you had investors in your business, was it difficult for you to find them? And how has the journey been?
I am my own investor, so that was another tough part of this whole business. But I think this business is all about, just being passionate. I don't know, sometimes you are on a very, you're actually on a very fine line between business and your passion. But this business is all, I think, more about being passionate. The difference is that, when you are an employer, then you are like responsible for a lot of things. Like I said, the buck stops with you. But when you are salaried, you are cushioned by a lot of things. You can afford to, to experiment, make mistakes. But here, everything is going to cost you. It's going to cost your pocket. That's the biggest difference. So it's like you have to be cautious. It does not mean that, you can't be creative, because you will have to be creative. You have to be ahead in this game to survive. You have to think. You have to venture in those areas where there was, nobody there. You have to be the first one, because everybody's going to jump into the pie sooner or later. You will always face this problem. But then there are these brands which always survive. There are food and everything. So it happens in both in hotels as well, outside the hotels. So when you're running your own restaurant, the only difference is that you have, you are going to be investing, or you are going to be responsible for your investors. So whereas in a hotel, if you are basically a chef or a manager, so there is a whole team of people, and which is being looked after by different teams. So a lot of things a lot of things get covered up by that. That is why, Captain, I think even Yasho raised this point of multitasking, which is very important. So, like I said, when you're learning, when you're in this process of your journey, experience is really going to matter a lot. So try absorbing. And for me, for instance, I was never into kitchens, but that, but somewhere down the line, when I used to go to the kitchens, I was very much interested. It was not only just about food, basically, but I just wanted to see how things work, how things were happening. And that kind of a thing, that knowledge eventually gave me the confidence to, on a very short stint, I actually came out of the industry it was a dream come true actually to get into Welcome Group actually. But I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think there was that strong urge to do something because I felt that I had worked hard even in my college, so why not put it into use? But it is a bit of a scary field. But like I said, be confident, be passionate, and even if you're in a hotel, there are going to be ups and downs. There's going to be transition things even over there. You will be working under chefs, you will be working under somebody, then eventually you will become, even over there you will be heading teams. So the pressure is there, but the only difference is that here the buck stops with you. That's the only thing if you're running your own business.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Sir,
Sir, I have a question.
question.
What are the building
My
blocks
name
for a
is Rinki.
successful restaurant?
Arey yaar.
What are the
Excuse me,
building
sir.
blocks for a successful restaurant?
Arey,
Well, you will come across things like, are you talking about what are the, sorry, I didn't get the question right. Maybe the sound.
excuse me, sir.
Sir, my question was, what are the building blocks for a successful restaurant?
Building blocks. I think when you want to open a restaurant, the primary thing that you will be looking at is, and something which you will be learning also in your institute would be things about like location, about your you have to look about you have to see your market, your customers. So all these things basically play a major role. But eventually it is for food, let's say if you want to open a restaurant, there are why would people come to your place? I mean, the primary reason is to basically have food, to get entertained, and the location should be accessible. So these three things are the first or the primary, I think, building blocks. Then later on, then you can get into the marketing part of it, the creating your menus. But the primary thing I feel is location, be able to serve good food, and in a way, and bit of marketing at that stage. These three things only.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me,
My
sir.
name is Jimmy. I want to ask a
Excuse me.
question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sir, I wanted to ask, how do you make your career successful in culinary arts?
In culinary arts,
Yeah.
well, to be honest, I didn't go through this culinary thing throughout, but when you get into culinary arts, I think it's a very specialized stream right now. Uh, you can be I think in a way, if you want to be like a chef, I think a
Yes,
chef has
sir.
this great advantage of being, he can actually open restaurants, because sometimes I feel if you want to open restaurants, knowledge about food is imperative. You can't get out of this thing. You can't say, I will open a restaurant and I will hand it over to another person to run the restaurant.
Yes,
So
sir.
when you say culinary arts, I think then, joining, like for instance, in our time, there was no specialized field like you are having it now. So we, in fact, were exposed at the same time to this, big industry, and really had to make our choices right at the end. And like for me, I think I probably made my choice once I got into the industry, actually. So in that case, I feel that if you keep specializing and work under good chefs, because I think best experience you can actually get is from a good chef only. This is
Yes,
like a
sir.
skill, and chefs will be hesitant to hand over the skill to you easily, believe it or not. They will
Yes,
not
sir.
tell you, your recipes, they will not give you the ingredients they put. Even when I was working in Morias, I used to be really fascinated by, what goes into, a lot of these dishes which they make. And the chef, I mean, he knew that, I wasn't part of the culinary program. But every time, when I would ask him, sir, chef, could you please tell me, what have you added and what have you this thing, out of just curiosity that time. So he would
Yes,
say,
sir.
okay, he would tell me one ingredient, and then he would say, can you just fetch, that thing from over there? And then he will put something inside. So I said, have you put anything? Yeah, well, I just put, those couple of the spices which, I had made. So the recipe.
They used to do that with us also, Manu.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Us
Even
too,
when we were teacher
actually.
trainees.
So
The
Even
famous potli, that they had in their
yeah,
pockets
exactly.
that they would
In
just
the
add, and you wouldn't know what it was.
Yes, sir.
And for
In
instance, I think,
food.
Dampuk, if you know that, it is always somebody from the Qureshi family who is the head chef. And supposedly they have all the know-hows about their, the main recipes. And recipe is the crux of it. In a restaurant, you don't need 100 dishes. I also
Yes.
got into thing. I used to have lot of food festival. Literally, I was rotating my menu every 14 days. But that was like kind of important for me because I was trying to, create some kind of an interest in my customers, because they would then keep coming back and asking me, what do you have, anything interesting? So I have gone through Japanese food and all this, but believe it or not, before introducing any cuisine, I really had to do a lot of research. You guys are lucky because now you have the, internet with you and this media, and you can really do it. For us, we have to literally look for books, talk to, chefs, get some know-how, look for some kind of interviews where they would, leak out some kind of ingredient, and you would say, "Oh gosh, I know I've got some part of the recipe." So it was always very
Yeah.
exciting. But now I feel customers are also aware of it. In fact, during this COVID time, majority of the people have become chefs. So it's going
Yes,
to be a big
sir.
challenge for us. When we
Most
open
of
the
the
restaurant.
people have cooked during
Yeah,
this
but
lockdown.
but the experience of a restaurant is very different because a lot of people say we want an environment of home away from home. I say that's not true because if that was true, then you would be sitting like you are sitting in COVID time. But you want to get out now. So the idea is that the hotels and the restaurants and the chefs, they have the magic, and that's what keeps bringing people back.
I
Yes.
think next chance, Sai, you can ask Sai. Sai, you
Yeah,
can go
sure.
ahead.
Sir,
Good evening, sir. How
No,
do you
let
see,
Sai ask.
how do you
Yeah.
I
see
wanted
the
to know that
hospitality?
as you are an entrepreneur,
Excuse
so
me. A gentleman, please wait. This girl is waiting for quite some time. She's been waiting from, second question onwards. Please give her a chance. You can ask next. Shai, you go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
How do you see the hospitality industry post-COVID, and what are the challenges we will come across?
I think at least what I feel that I hope it's going to be a short stint, in this kind of a period where we are all reevaluating. I mean, even for me, because I generally specialize, in that kind of environment where we, like bars and restaurants, fine dines. And there's a lot of drama, which you create around, presentation of your food, music. This whole lot of things, which are, and this whole shift towards takeaway, and you can't do everything on a takeaway. I mean, I have so many, signature dishes which were all, which, generally we would never ever, imagine, putting them in a little box and sending it away, and being served half an hour later by somebody who doesn't even know, might put it in a microwave or stuff like that. So I think reevaluating our menus and looking for, there's a new customer now base. A lot of youngsters, who are now eating out during this COVID time. We just try to figure out, and their choices, their tastes, it's all very different. And so I think it is, uh, you like this industry is very dynamic. I mean, there's already lots which was happening in this industry, but at the end of the day, like I said, you know, you should be able to serve just good food, and what people exactly want. That is it. There's a lot of fusion cooking you're seeing this, but at the same time, you see these restaurants like Bukhara, a 10 or 15 dish, and doing clocking sales, which would, eat half of Delhi right now. But that's the power of, you know, good food, basically. Like I said, good food talks. And this is it, all. But the only challenge is now that you will not be able to do all this thing in front of your guests. So, some guy from Swiggy or a Zomato, whether he tumbles down your, that whole package or how he serves it. So, got to be careful. And still, what we are doing right now is that we are in touch with our customers. So we still try to, make menus and simplify the dishes, which we know will last for at least half an hour. That's the biggest challenge right now. Otherwise, generally, typically, a la carte menu is you do it at that time, and within 10 minutes, it has to be on the table. But now that whole thing has changed. And this is the biggest challenge which we are all facing. So it's not typically for the fast food, but it's actually for dine-in restaurants and bars. For bars, it's like all about, the cocktails, the mocktails, the whole tamasha about this, the smokes and everything. But that is all which is basically has changed now. And I think this is like going to be a short period of time, but the restaurants eventually, I think this industry will bounce back. But I think it'll probably take another few months. And for that, we have to be patient. Best thing to do is just be in touch with your customers. That's the only thing which we're doing right now.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I think one last question I will allow the gentleman who started. I think we will wind up with him.
Okay, ma'am. Sir, as being an entrepreneur, as you are an entrepreneur, I wanted to know that is it only good management and good food for having a successful business, or is there anything else?
I think when you're an entrepreneur, like, when I run my restaurant, if I am not leading my team, things are not going to happen. It's like a chef, if the chef is not involved, things are not going to go down the same way. Because it's just about, I think I'll simplify it, it's when I opened the restaurant, it was my dream. And I can only understand my dream. Okay. Now I have to convey this dream to my management, to my managers, to my staff, especially the last person. But it will only happen when you are involved in this thing. The moment you step out and because fast food industry is very different. If you look at McDonald's, Pizza Hut, these are all, points of assemblies basically. There are 10 things which are being brought from different people and they're just assembled over there. Not that I'm saying that this is easy, because I also do a quick service restaurant, but my menu is varied. I'm doing all cuisines in that. It's pure vegetarian without onion garlic. And we were the first ones in Qatar actually to do this restaurant. There was no restaurant in Qatar when I got into it. Everybody told me it's gonna go down, your business gonna get hit because fast food doesn't work, because people think there were only dhabas over there, typically small joints and kiosks and stuff like that. And all food over there is cooked without onion and garlic. I don't even purchase, not even for my staff. So there's nothing. And I had to work the entire recipe. In fact, fast food was considered as like a non-veg thing, like mayonnaise and stuff like that. Buns, people used to think there are eggs in it. So I had a walk-in kitchen for my, a lot of my customers that time, because they were actually stuck in awe, because they couldn't believe, that you could serve burgers, pizzas, and all these things. So at that time, there were no, now these days you get everything is available off the shelf, all sauces, everything. But that time, I had to really think how to make a mayonnaise without, egg, and we couldn't figure out with a lot of small things. I still remember it was like making ketchups, without onion. Onion is a very powerful ingredient, and it's it's one of the toughest. To make a lot of things without onion is challenging. Even to make a simple something like a South Indian meal or anything like that, again without onion. So it's everything we had to do. Chinese food without onion. Oh gosh, it was like because people would ask for it. People love Chinese food in India. It's not typically what Chinese food, but it's Indo-Chinese. But like I said, but then eventually, you adapt, you learn, and this is how it happens. But you have to lead. I think this is the whole, it's like a never-ending process. I mean, you get tuned to it. I can't sit back at home not thinking what's happening in my restaurant. So, there'll be that urge to go, to find out. And every day, every customer, it's a new experience. I can keep telling you. I mean, you were asking me, facing a customer, it's like you step to a customer and he will tell you something. I'm not saying that it's always going to be, he will compliment you also most of the times. But he's going to be ever demanding, he will keep this thing. You ask him, sir, you need anything else? Oh, yes, I need this. I don't mind this. I want this thing. So, so it's going to be like that. But then this is the charm of this industry. Like I say, just be passionate about it. Forget most of the things and just go for it. But like I said, need to know your audience, need to know what you're doing, understand your market, do a bit of research, do survey, and then go, on your gut feeling. That's it. And you'll be
Okay, chef.
Thank you.
So it was nice talking to you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Manu. Thank you. I think having this inherent biasness towards ladies, the lady is still waiting and nodding her head. So I will take the liberty to read out one last question. Maybe Yashu can make an attempt to answer in maybe 2 minutes before we wind up. There was one question on work-life balance. So I thought I will ask her because, keeping in mind the ladies, female students. So hearing your story was immensely inspiring. Although my question is to ask, as a chef with long working hours, how did you manage your work-life balance?
I wasn't married. No. No, as Manu said just now, you go home, you're still thinking of work because that's the way the hotel industry is. That's the way hospitality is. There's no switching off. And so there are three options really. If you are a woman, you can say that, look, the career is what I want, and that's how I'm going to move forward. My personal life can stay on hold. On the other hand, you can then do a 360 and say, no, I think it's time that I looked into just my personal life and call it quits as far as my career goes. I think the third option is the most difficult, where you have to balance the two. And let me be really honest, if you have children, it really, really, really is difficult. It's very difficult. Because, in the old days, I'm not sure how many hotels have it now, but in the old days, all the ITC hotels had creches within the hotel. So you could bring your child in, the school bus could drop your child off at the Moria, they could drop you at the staff entrance, they could drop your child off at the park, and your child would come in. There were a few ladies there who would look after the children. They'd come into the main kitchen with the with a KOT of what the various children needed to eat and all of that, which is great. I think that's in a way encouraging women to work, because you need that kind of infrastructure, you need that kind of support to be able to give both sides of your life that kind of time. It doesn't happen all the time. It is a difficult equation to balance out, and but today times are very different. In those days, for us, we thought only 5-star hotel. I think Manu is one of the few people who sort of decided that I can do this on my own. I don't need the management training program. I don't need ITC and all of that, which is great. That's path breaking in a way. But today you have so many more options. I mean, you just have to get onto Pinterest or any of your websites and see the kind of amazing stuff people are doing at home. The kind of amazing stuff people are doing on their off time. So they're working another job, but on the weekends, they suddenly become, sugar moms, where they're sort of whipping up the most exquisite desserts, selling them in jars. They've got their customers calling them for all kinds of things. Vegan is a big thing now. You've got people doing just vegan food. So the opportunities are tremendous. Don't restrict your thinking. I think that's one thing. Don't think only within the bounds of, I have to only be in a hotel. Don't think that. Don't think I have to work only in a restaurant. I think you should be able to open up your your dreams, open up your, don't have boundaries. And look at it, as Manu said, there's no end to learning. Learn whatever you can. Learn how to differentiate. How is your food going to be a differentiator? Where can that information come to use later on? And use it differently, and you will figure out a way to handle a work-life balance.
Thank you, Yashodhara. Thank you. I think it's time to conclude today's session. On behalf of the 10th course BACA, I request Mr. Arindol Day to summarize Ms. Yashodhara Marar's session. Over to you, Arindol.
Before I begin, I want to convey my warm-hearted gratitude to ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your beautiful experience and furnishing us with your words of knowledge and inspiration. Started as a management trainee in ITC Hotels, Madam Yashodhara broke the primitive notions and landed as a professional chef in the art of cooking. She shared her experience in college days, which turned out to be her great and one of the biggest decisions in her lives. And she believes that in order to become successful, one needs to put herself in the grilling practice. She worked in the Trident Chennai, which was followed by the Park Sheraton. But from therein, she got her great experiences, hard work and focus that she believed in her limbs. And voila, she cracked her management trainee like that. Being a super jolly lady, she loves to prepare plethora of dishes. And moreover, she actually refined herself in leadership and business skills by shattering pessimistic outlook and breaking the patriarchy in the culture like India. She also mentioned that experiential learning is very important because great lessons in life are learned by working hard, resilience, and compliance. But not to forget patience in the hospitality industry. She spoke about many aspects, for example, creativity, attention to your work, communication skills, working as a team, and most importantly, a chef needs to be a multitasker. She mentioned that creativity is a bedrock of every foundational studies. Moreover, she became a proactive chef who personalized her own dishes and menus with the limited stuffs to present in the banquet. But look at her today. She excelled in her assessments in the management trainee. Now, not to forget the teamwork. It is very important and imperative for everyone to understand that teamwork plays a vital role in any organizational structure. She shared her experience in a 3 consecutive day event in ITC Kolkata, wherein she represented Team Dakshin and made a great entry and brought in great laurels and experience by walking in and overcoming the hurdles in an unknown city like Kolkata. With great command over her speech and thoughts, having worked in a Chinese kitchen, her challenge was to bring in the Chinese culture and food in the Indian restaurants. But she aced in that arena too by her charisma. Even she threw her light in working in different operations of the hotel, most importantly ITC Shonar in Kolkata. As a chef, she also believes, and each one of us believe, that one needs to be very challenging, one needs to be patientful, but shouldn't forget her enjoyments in life and not to impart anything negative in her life, but to be jolly and happy. Last but not the least, she concluded her speech by a simple advice to all the budding and emerging chefs. In this new normal era, wherein the world is connecting in this virtual life, she mentioned that not to forget your enjoyment, but be zestful in life. Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a great day. Over to you, Vidya, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arindol. Yeah, it was a beautiful summary, isn't it?
Yeah, good. Superb.
Yes. Thank you, Arindol. And I request Ms. Prakriti Iyer to summarize Mr. Manu Wahi's session.
A very good evening to one and all. A very good evening, sir. I'm Prakriti Iyer. I'm from first year BA Culinary Arts. It took me, I thank you for your inspiring words. Firstly, I would like to start by a quote which you quoted, which states, "Knowledge is never wasted." And it really inspired us. As you said, knowledge can never be wasted. You then said one should always be open to learning. Going down to your memory lane, going down to his memory lane, he took up situations where he said learning French, although he never liked it, but it helped him a lot in when he went to a different place, it helped him very much. He also said that being in this industries, one should always be ready to face anything and everything, because here, if there is appreciation, one also faces criticism equally. Although Sir mentioned that he was not basically from the culinary department, he was always ready to go towards the kitchen and he was very excited to be there. And he also created many dishes and created a Navratri Thali, which basically helped a lot of people during their fasting. He also said that one should always have a firm and wise choice. Like there are going to be circumstances where a chef should choose between the customer's satisfaction and his instance. And so also said choosing customer satisfaction doesn't mean that the customer is always right, but he says that the customer is honored, and it always says a happy customers leads to happy work. And he further told us the golden rule that everyone should remember, that one customer or each customer has its own choice, preferences and needs, and everything differs from one individual to another. So one chef should always be ready to fulfill all the needs of the customers so that they can be satisfied. Lastly, I would like to say what you stated, which really inspired us and me personally, was that one should always learn like a sponge, like keep on absorbing knowledge throughout, because knowledge gained throughout your life can never be gone wasted. It always will help you in some or the other way. Let it be now or let it be in future. It will always help you. Thank you, sir. It was really an honor listening to you and listening to your experience. You really inspired us a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prakriti. How was it, Manu? Wasn't it great?
Very, very, very exciting. This was like my first session. I haven't been to the college, like I was just telling last time, I think, when I was on the net with you. So it's a great feeling, and now being on the other side, but of course, if we can share our experiences, and it's been a beautiful journey, and I think those times were probably even much wilder, and I'm sure now they're going through a very, like a mechanized, it'll be all very perfect. But I think our times were really nice, and a lot of opportunities we had. And this whole thing about industry itself has gone, through such a big transition. And but it's on a very different pace. That's what I feel now. So I think those times, like good old times, is like that's what it truly was that time. So that's it.
Thank you, Manu. I think it's time Chef Thiru should come in and say a few concluding thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chef Yashodhara, for your wonderful words of wisdom. Someone who, 31 years back, talked in university and decided to pursue kitchen as a career option. It was an amazing. I'm sure this batch is lucky that they are, have got a people like you mentoring them. They are going to learn a lot more in years to come. The way you have narrated your food trial in a detailed manner show your passion to work in this industry. I know you have set an example for these young chefs to follow their professional journey. Thank you, Chef. And Mr. Manu, thank you for sharing your culinary experience, starting from Baksha Lab Kitchen to ITC Hotel Kitchen, and you have spoke as an entrepreneur, on how one should prioritize their customer needs, and you spoke from your art as an entrepreneur with passion and commitment, and it's an amazing, thing to listen from both of you. I think even faculty from faculty side and ITC and Manipal University, I thank both of you for spending time, and we look forward, seeing you both of you in campus very soon, so that these kids, get an opportunity to interact face to face I think more questions are there. I think its session will go on another 4 hours. I think I'm sure that, sorry students, with the time limitation, we have to cut short. And I'm sure that they are going to guide you, and we will send you all your questions mailed to them. And then whenever, take some time there, because they have to follow their routine. And I'm sure that they're going to answer all your questions. Thank you. And thank you, Arindam and Prakriti, for wonderful summary. I wish, both of you to continue with the same, energy and enthusiasm throughout your career. And wonderful to listen to both of you. Thank you, and thank you, Vidya and Raghavendra, for, supporting, and thanks Rajmohan and Manish, and for, coordinating this event. And over to you, Dr. Vidya.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
been an honor, Chef. Thank you.
Yashu and Manu, tomorrow we have 2 7th course alumni. I'm sure, I think Manu knows them. Atul Jain from US and Divya Prabhakar from Bangalore Uta Company will be with us. If time permits, please join us at 6:30.
Okay.
Fine, ma'am. Try your best.
Okay.
And thank you for giving us this platform. It was really nice.
Thank you. Super.
It's been wonderful. It's really been wonderful. Thank you so much for thinking of me, and I'm ever grateful. And I really wish I could have answered more questions, because I think that's how you learn. You ask more questions.
I will share the questions with both of you. There are quite a few questions. I will send an email whenever you have time. You please share your answers with them. Just let me conclude before we wind up. As I've already mentioned, our appreciation goes beyond words. Sincere thanks to Yashodhara and Manu for being with us today to address the students and parents. We hope to have a great association with both of you in the coming days. Thanks to students and parents for attending the program, and we assure you that we will try to do as much as possible to keep up the spirit of education. Thanks to Chef Thiru, Mr. Rajshekhar, and all my colleagues. Special thanks to Mr. Raghavendra, Chef Rajmohan, and Manish for helping me with the program. And see you all tomorrow, same time, same venue, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, students. Good night.
Thank you, Chef.